November 13th, 1985, 11 o'clock at night. In a small Colombian town called Armero, the mayor is in his office, talking on a ham radio to the city of Ibagué. His name is Ramón Antonio Rodríguez. He has spent the last 12 months warning the government that the mountain above his town was going to kill them all. Nobody listened. Now, sitting in the dark, with the storm hammering the roof above him, he is in mid-sentence to the radio operator in Ibagué. His last verified words are these: "Wait a minute, I think the town is getting flooded." 30 minutes later, his office, his town, his radio, and 23,000 of his neighbors were buried under 16 feet of mud. The volcano had been warning them for an entire year. A hazard map said there was a 100% probability of the disaster that was coming. The Colombian Congress dismissed it as scaremongering. The mountain that killed them all was a volcano so quiet, so patient, so long dormant that the locals had a nickname for it. They called it León Dormido, the sleeping lion. This is the forensic story of how a mountain warned a town for a year and what happened in the 72 hours that followed the warnings going unheeded. 3 things you need to know before we walk into Armero. The mountain told them it was about to explode. A hazard map predicted with 100% certainty exactly what would happen. The Colombian Congress called the map scaremongering. When the disaster finally started, the Red Cross ordered an evacuation. 3 hours later, when the ash briefly stopped falling, the local authorities cancelled the order and told everyone to go home. And on the morning after the mountain melted, global television cameras would capture an agonizing 60-hour countdown as the entire world was forced to watch a single death unfold in real time. Armero was known as Colombia's White City, named for the vast white rice plantations that surrounded it. It was an agricultural powerhouse. 30,000 people lived there. The town produced about 1/5 of all of Colombia's rice. It was thriving. It was prosperous. It was a town with a future. But its wealth was entirely an illusion of geography. Armero had been built inside a natural choke point, a low valley sitting directly downhill from the massive glaciers of the Andes. The valley was a drainage funnel. Every river, every gully, every channel on the surrounding mountainsides aimed directly at the streets of the town. Twice before, in 1595 and in 1845, the mountain above the valley had sent walls of boiling mud down this exact funnel. Each event killed hundreds. The 1845 event killed roughly 1,000 people. Each time the survivors did the same thing. They waited for the mud to dry. They built a new town directly on top of the hardened layer. They forgot what had happened. For the next 140 years, the mountain above them slept. The locals had a nickname for that sleeping mountain. They called it the Sleeping Lion. The Sleeping Lion is officially called Nevado del Ruiz. It is a stratovolcano, almost 18,000 feet tall. Its peak is permanently covered by a glacier, 25 square kilometers of ice and snow, 50 meters thick. Beneath that ice is a crater called Arenas. When a stratovolcano with a glacier on top erupts, it does not produce a slow river of lava. It produces something called a lahar. A lahar is what happens when fire meets ice. When the heat from a magmatic eruption hits a glacier, the ice does not slowly melt, it vaporizes. It releases massive volumes of water in minutes. That water mixes with the volcanic ash, the soil, the boulders, the trees, and turns into a flowing river of wet concrete. It is not water, it is not lava, it is something in between. It moves like a river, but it carries entire boulders the size of cars. It has the consistency of liquid cement. It moves at over 30 miles per hour through narrow valleys. A lahar from Nevado del Ruiz could reach a town 74 kilometers away, about 45 miles, in just 2.5 hours. That town was Armero. By 1985, scientists knew exactly what was coming. The volcano had been warning them for an entire year. In December of 1984, the earthquakes began. In one 5-hour period, geologists recorded 65 separate shocks. Over the following months, the mountain kept escalating. New craters opened, steam eruptions vented, ash fell on nearby towns. Every signal pointed to the same conclusion. In September, the volcano put on a small preview. A phreatic eruption, a steam blast, lasted 7 hours. Ash fell on Armero. In October, a team of Italian volcanologists arrived in Colombia. They concluded the risk of a lahar was, quote, very high. And then, on October 7th, in Geominas, the Colombian Geological Survey produced something that should have saved 23,000 lives, a hazard map. The map showed exactly where the lahars would go. It identified Armero as the highest risk zone. The probability of a mudflow reaching the town, according to the scientists, was 100%. Only 10 copies were ever printed. The Colombian Congress dismissed the findings as, quote, scaremongering. They called it volcanic terrorism. Economic interests opposed the map because they feared it would lower property values. A map that said, everyone in this town is going to die. 10 copies, dismissed as terrorism. Armero's mayor, Ramon Rodriguez, had been begging the government for months to clear a dam that had formed in the river above his town. He warned that if the volcano erupted, the dam would burst and wipe out everything below it. He called the situation a time bomb. The governor of his region did nothing. On November 6th, just a week before the eruption, the volcano gave its final warning. A team of US Geological Survey seismologists had their equipment packed, ready to fly to Colombia, ready to install real-time monitoring on the mountain. The State Department told them to unpack their bags. That same week, a paramilitary group had stormed the Colombian Palace of Justice in Bogotá. The army was retaking the building by force. Dozens were dead, including 11 Supreme Court justices. The government was paralyzed. The most advanced volcanic monitoring team in the world never made it to Armero. Then came November 13th. At 3:06 in the afternoon, the mountain coughed. A phreatic eruption, a column of black ash 30 kilometers high, almost 20 miles into the atmosphere. 35 million tons of volcanic material thrown into the sky. Ash began falling on Armero like snow. The local priest got on a loudspeaker. He told the townspeople to stay inside, to use damp handkerchiefs over their faces, not to panic. One resident, a woman named Gabrielina Ferruccio, would later testify that the priest told her, quote, enjoy this beautiful show. It will never be seen again. Then the seismic activity briefly returned to normal. Authorities decided the danger had passed. At 7 o'clock that evening, the Red Cross issued an evacuation order for Armero. As the order was going out, the ash stopped falling. Local authorities reversed the Red Cross order. They told residents to return to their homes. By 8:30 p.m., a severe storm hit the valley. Heavy rain, thunder, lightning, electrical outages. Radio communications failed across the region. At 9:08 p.m., the mountain erupted for real. The main magmatic eruption began. Hot pyroclastic flows scoured across the glacier at the summit, melting 10% of the ice cap in minutes. 43 million tons of water surged down the mountainside. The civil defense officials from 4 nearby towns tried to radio Armero with a final warning. Their messages never got through. The storm had cut all communications. The Lahar started its journey. It would travel 74 kilometers in 2.5 hours. In the Santander neighborhood of Armero, a 13-year-old girl named Omayra Sánchez was inside her family home. She lived with her father, Álvaro Enrique Sanchez, a rice and sorghum farmer, her aunt, Maria Adela Garzón, her older brother. Her mother, Maria Aleida Garzón, was not home. She was in Bogotá that week, selling rice for the family business. That night, like the rest of Armero, the Sanchez family listened to the radio. The local broadcast was telling residents to stay calm, to stay inside, to trust the priest, to wait for the ash to clear. The family went to bed. Around 10:30, a geology student named José Luis Restrepo, who was staying in a nearby hotel, noticed something strange. The radio that had been broadcasting calm reassurance for hours suddenly went off the air. Exactly 15 seconds later, all the electrical power in Armero died. The town was plunged into total darkness. Survivors would later describe the next few minutes. The roar of something they could not identify getting louder. The flashing of car headlights in the dark as drivers tried to make sense of what what was coming. The headlights flashed, and then flipped, and then disappeared into the mud. In his office, in the dark, Mayor Ramon Rodriguez was on his ham radio to Ibagué. He had stayed behind to help his people. Earlier that night, he had told them, quote, "I'll be the last one to leave." At 11 p.m., mid-sentence, his last verified words went out over the radio. "Wait a minute, I think the town is getting flooded." He never finished the sentence, because 30 minutes later, a wall of mud, rock, and uprooted trees, 30 meters tall, 100 feet high, moving at 30 miles per hour, slammed into Armero. It buried 85% of the town in under 30 minutes. 20,000 people died that night. In the Santander neighborhood, the Sanchez family's concrete roof collapsed. Inside the house, somewhere under the rubble, 13-year-old Omayra was still alive. Her 60-hour nightmare was just beginning. On the morning of November 14th, a French photographer named Frank Fournier was making his way through the ruins. He met a farmer who told him about a girl. The farmer took him to her. When rescuers had first arrived hours earlier, they had spotted a small hand poking up through a crack in the concrete debris. They cleared the upper rubble. They found her. Omayra Sánchez was pinned in a kneeling position, submerged in cold, gritty water from the chest down. A concrete roof slab and a brick door were crushing her legs. Her father had died in the collapse. Her aunt had died holding her. And under the water, in the dark, the aunt's dead arms were locked around Omayra's legs. A death grip, pulling her down into the mud. The aunt was dead. Her body was holding Omayra under the water. Rescuers tried everything. They could not lift the concrete. The brick was too heavy. They considered amputating her legs, but they had no surgical equipment to stop the bleeding, no way to manage the trauma. The only thing that might have saved her was an industrial water pump, one that could lower the water level around her body without pulling her under. There were no pumps in Armero. There was something else, something even more horrible. The same wreckage that was killing her was the only thing keeping her alive. Rescuers realized that if they pulled the rubble away, the water trapped around her body would surge upward. It would flood the small pocket of air she had left. It would drown her in seconds. She was being kept alive by the same disaster that was killing her. For 60 hours, Omayra Sánchez stayed conscious. A civil defense rescuer named Gustavo Lastra stayed by her side. He would later describe her as, quote, intelligent, a warrior. A volunteer named Germán Santamaría Barragán held her hand. She sang to him. As hours turned to days, her body began to fail. Her hands turned white. Her eyes turned black and swollen from hypothermia and gangrene. She hallucinated about missing school. Her rescuers, with no equipment that could save her body, tried to save her spirit by quizzing her on her multiplication tables. She remained completely lucid. She sent a message to her mother through the cameras that were now broadcasting her image to the entire world. Her exact, verified words: "Mummy, pray for me so that I can walk and these people help me. I love you very much. Goodbye, mother." At one point, in those final hours, she turned to the camera and described what she wanted when she got out. She said, "I want, when I get out, me taking one with the camera, that I come out triumphant." She thought she was going to live. She wanted a victory photograph. At 10:05 a.m. on November 16th, Omayra Sánchez died. Cause of death, gangrene, hypothermia, exposure. She was 13 years old. The world watched. 1320, Frank Fournier took her photograph in her final hours. It was titled "The Agony of Omayra Sánchez." It won the World Press Photo of the Year. Her face became one of the most recognized images in modern journalism and one of the most haunting. The whole world had watched her die. The cameras had reached her in time. The pumps had not. A French photographer had a camera that could capture her face. A South American nation could not deliver one industrial water pump. The funeral mass was held in the city of Ibagué the following week. A banner was draped at the entrance. The handwritten words on it became one of the most quoted accusations in disaster history. The volcano didn't kill 22,000 people. The government killed them. Closing, 1410. Armero was never rebuilt. Today, it is an empty grid of ruined streets. Visitors who walk through it can still see drag marks in the original cobblestones, where massive boulders were scraped across the road by the Lahar. The hospital that once treated the residents of Armero still stands, half collapsed, half buried. White crosses mark the foundations where homes used to be. Every November 13th, the survivors return. They light candles, they walk the streets, they remember. Pope John Paul II visited the site a year after the disaster and declared the ground Holy Land. In 1989, just 4 years after Armero died, Nevado del Ruiz erupted again. This time, Colombia had learned. Monitoring stations had been installed, hazard maps had been distributed, evacuation drills had been practiced. The 1989 eruption killed exactly 0 people. In Washington state, a town called Orting runs Lahar drills every year. The drills exist because Mount Rainier, the volcano above Orting, is geologically identical to Nevado del Ruiz. The lessons of Omayra Sánchez are now being used to save American children. If forgotten disasters fascinate you, I broke down another one. A volcanic eruption in 1902 that killed 30,000 people in under 2 minutes. The only survivor inside the city was a prisoner. Links below. Omayra Sanchez's mother survived. She was in Bogotá selling rice when the Lahar came. Her brother survived too. He lost only a finger. Of her immediate family, only Omayra did not make it. She would have been 53 years old today. The killer is rarely loud. It's almost always still arriving. 40 years after Armero, the sleeping lion still sleeps above the empty town it killed. The crater is still there, the glaciers are still there, and somewhere in the Santander neighborhood of Armero, in the dirt where her house once stood, a 13-year-old girl who wanted her photograph taken triumphant is still waiting. Subscribe, stay curious, and the next time someone shows you a map that says 100% probability, believe them.